Okay, so I promised a wrap up review of season 2 of Raised by Wolves, and it's been a week almost, so I suppose I should give my review, my wrap up. Where do we start? So, as I said, this is definitely the wackiest science fiction, weirdest show on television right now. It is what it is, and Raised by Wolves has now completed its second season with a cliffhanger. My last review was of the Psycho Insane Massacre, courtesy of Vril, the android gone mad. Since then, we've seen Mary Sue turn into a tree. I think Neve Alger, who plays Mary Sue, is not coming back to the show, so rest in peace, Mary Sue. Now, I have specific, instead of just giving you the run through of what happened episode by episode, I have some specific things to point out. Chiefly, as I mentioned, these boxes are clearly containers for the seeds that grow these ginormous plants. But what is the purpose of these trees that are being grown? What do they do exactly? Nurture the planet. This is why people grow trees. They grow trees to nurture the planet. And this is likely what soul or whatever that entity is. That's what's going on there. Now, we see at the end of episode 8 or some part of episode 8 that many people have started to consume the seeds or the fruit, so these seeds do look like a giant brain or heart. And I'm curious to know what they're made of. Probably just real, like, berries smacked together, grossly delicious. But we don't know yet what the effect of eating them is. I mean, we've seen both Marcus and Paul eat from the fruit, but so far they seem fine, I guess. But I don't know yet what these fruits do, like what eating them will do to people. And the show has a way of being very contrived. All the people eating the fruit, for the most part, are not main characters. But, that's one thing to focus on. The second thing is the snake. First of all, I don't know is this the demise of the snake. Raised by Wolves has a tendency to just do things very quickly. It's almost as if it's just tossing everything in there and just seeing what sticks. And if it doesn't stick, it gets rid of it. So we had, at the end of season 1, this ginormous threatening snake. Then we learn in the beginning of season 2 that it's not threatening at all, that it's vegetarian, only eat pumpkins. And then we are led to believe that it's out to get Campion, that it's jealous of Campion somehow. And in this episode, the final episode, we see it is in a catch me if you can game with Campion, but it's very obvious that it might not have been trying to kill Campion, so that maybe instead it might have been trying to protect or warn him. It's not clear, but of course it never got to carry out that mission because Mother had it destroyed. And that's very curious. What Mother now using grandmother's veil, which is designed to separate her from her caregiving feelings, destroyed her snake baby and ripped out its eyes. It's a very gruesome scene, but I don't know. Obviously, leading into the third thing, which is grandmother, we now know grandmother has an ulterior motive. At least many people I've seen compare this to Adam and Eve and Lilith, and grandmother would be Lilith. This is a little too simplified for me. We also know grandmother has her sides on father. There are lots of speculation there as to why this is. Maybe she had mistakenly thought father was her partner from a million years ago, so maybe father is in fact an android model that has been created or rebooted numerous times. We've already seen that in father's own life cycle on the show. I mean, he's been killed, 3 times already and just been brought back. So maybe he does have another purpose, and he's always had this purpose. But of course, that begs the question of Campion Sturgis. How would Campion know that? And who is Campion? What does Campion Sturgis know? So we need some answers that we didn't get. Hopefully Campion Sturgis will come back and we will hear more about him. But grandmother, I've seen again the theory that grandmother is somehow a Lilith figure. Lilith was the original first wife of Adam, and she, I guess, was acting like an independent woman, and so they had to get rid of her. But I'm not sure. I feel as if grandmother might just be breaking down. Maybe grandmother is just not functioning properly. But we see grandmother compare herself to a shepherd, and that her mission is to protect humans. So if she is the shepherd, then humans are sheep. And we see at the end that she's been manipulating mother, and she has somehow been she's pushing them towards a lesser life form, a simpler life form, which she believes would make everything easier for them. Grandmother also spoke about a previous war on the planet millions of years earlier between the technocrats and, I guess, the believers. This is interesting because no one knows what this means. I believe the technocrats are, in fact, the local people who were responsible for planting those titanium tablets to reveal the true nature of whatever this entity is, Soul. And it goes back to the theory I have before that now there might be two separate entities. It's like the voice that spoke to Marcus and Paul in season 1 might not be the same entity that grandmother now seems to be recognizing. This might be another, maybe nefarious entity that exists on the planet. I do still think, Soul is an artificial intelligence of some sort. And again, the botanotech that was referred to earlier in season 2, implies that somehow the artificial intelligence developed naturally on this planet. Because again, I do think this planet naturally, effortlessly merges technology and artificial intelligence with organic beings. Or this is why the, again, de-evolved individuals on the planet responded to Marcus's necklace with the tooth that was made of nanotech properties. I think it gets into their bloodstream somehow, and this might be the purpose of the fruit. It allows that kind of natural convergence between organic and cybernetic, that seamless combination of the two. So I don't believe they will remain as purely organic beings. I believe they will, in fact, fall under the control of whatever this entity is, with the nanotech properties in their blood, which allows them to respond to whatever commands they receive from this artificial intelligence. I believe that is grandmother's purpose of feeding them this fruit. The purpose of it is to make them compliant. It's to turn them into sheep, to simplify them, to make them compliant with whatever it is she and this entity she worships wants. It's very strange, and if I'm not making sense, if I'm rambling, I apologize, but this is a very strange show. So we know grandmother locked mother away. She figured out grandmother's plan, or maybe grandmother wanted her to see the manipulation, the transforming of the children. We now know that Campion is no longer responding negatively to the acidic ocean. There was always something strange about Campion, of course, and my belief was always that he's either a genetically engineered clone of Campion Sturgis, or he is his son in some regard, who's also genetically engineered. I do believe this might explain why Campion survived the radiation poisoning when his siblings, the first-gen kids, did not. I do believe Campion can, in fact, survive radiation poisoning. And now we see that he is now seen able to withstand the acidic ocean. When grandmother gave them these devices, that was grandmother allowing the technology to manipulate them, perhaps on a molecular level. And then we see the side effect of that, which mother confronted grandmother about, which is she is making it so that they can live under the acidic ocean. This is just messed up stuff. And again, as I said with my first video about season 2, I have no idea where the show is going. All my expectations have been subverted. We haven't received many answers, although I do think Lucas, who technically killed Marcus at the end there, of course that's a spoiler, but the upside down Jesus, Marcus has risen, is planning to go deeper into the cave than Marcus ever did, and maybe he will get some answers. More answers, because I haven't gotten any answers. But, I do stick to the points that I've stuck to in the past, that we are dealing with a natural artificial intelligence, if that makes any sense. So an artificial intelligence that developed naturally, perhaps from botanotech that makes up the planet's core. That's what I was struggling to say earlier. And that whatever evolves from it, the trees, whether the snake, belong to that. I've seen the theory that, in fact, the machines are becoming more intelligent. And I do believe this is what Campion was getting at when he kept saying that Vril is alive. Vril is alive. Now, there's a lot of words here with double meaning. And Vril is alive. I don't think he was just saying she was an android who feels alive. I believe he legitimately believed that somehow she's gained true sapience and true awareness, because I do believe Vril is in fact evolving, and this is what the planet is designed to do. We know Grandmother has the ability to force organics to evolve. Tempest's baby is immune to the acidic ocean, and we learn later when the baby is rescued by Hunter that the baby's genetics had somehow been altered. We know Tempest gave birth earlier than expected after she came into contact with Grandmother, who seemingly accelerated that process. So Grandmother and these entities that evolve on the planet seemingly have the ability to manipulate organic life. And again, Grandmother is doing that with the kids in general. This is very interesting. This is really the only theory I will take away from season 2, that the planet is a natural machine. What it's trying to do is create that perfect harmony between these two things. Yeah, Grandmother, the seeds, the snake, rest in peace. We saw the snake in death break apart and seemingly return to the acidic ocean. I don't know where they're going with that. I feel the snake was very underwhelming. It was this crazy entity. Oh, and one more theory I wanted to point out. Vril, before she died, commented that the snake somehow won't stay grounded. I never thought about it, but in episode 8, Mother, using this veil, rose above the planet along with the snake. So the snake rose above the planet, proving that it can exist in outer space. This really shows that the snake perhaps has the ability to travel through space on its own. So interesting. And perhaps because the snake swallowed the tree that was once Sue, rest in peace, the snake was carrying in it these seeds. I wonder if it was planning a trip to Earth or some other planet to where it would somehow plant these seeds and caught these seeds of destruction and the seeds of knowledge. This is very interesting, but obviously the snake never got around to doing that because Mother destroyed him. Which brings me back to the theory about how, Grandmother is manipulating Mother and got Mother to kill the snake, but the snake's intention might not have been completely bad, because the snake was actually being manipulated by this entity to carry out its bidding, but was perhaps trying to fight against the manipulation, especially when it came to the act of killing Campion. It didn't want to. Grandmother rather manipulated Mother into killing it, which implies that they're on opposite sides. Anyway, season 2 ended with Marcus basically rising, but in the form of an upside down crucifixion style. I looked into this a little bit, and apparently it came from the Bible. There was it Judas or someone who didn't feel that he was worthy of being crucified or executed in the same manner as Jesus, because he just wasn't worthy. So he requested to have an opposite position to Jesus during the execution. So it's become a symbol for the Antichrist, this upside down crucifixion. So I'm wondering with Marcus if this is what they're getting at, if ultimately whatever has brought Marcus back from the dead, if they will go with that route, because I can easily see the show just having Lucas put a bullet in him. But if that's what they're going with, then it will play into the duality that this show seemingly loves, the good and evil kind of Garden of Eden duology. Marcus is now the Antichrist, or he's on the side of the entity that is the Antichrist. This is going to be interesting going forward, but Raised by Wolves, folks. So who knows? My understanding is that the show hasn't been renewed for a 3rd season, so I don't know if we will be getting more. Hopefully we will be getting more, because they cannot just leave us like this. So the show is just too crazy at this point. It's just fun coming up with these theories. But Raised by Wolves has wrapped for a 2nd season. But let me know what you thought about Raised by Wolves Season 2.